I stand by Kyrie. You know, you're not playing this game by anybody else's rules but yours when it comes to your decision process and how you're coming to make that decision. Everybody else has been saying, how come he's not talking? Because he's processing. And for Kyrie Irving, he's allowed the time to process. This is his personal choice, Key. It sounded to me, listening to the IG Live last night and then again this morning, that he understands the consequences that come along with his decision. But there have been a lot of people that have been speculating what Kyrie stands for. Now, somebody can then say, well, he's had optimal time to utilize the podium and to speak his voice. Well, maybe the guy is going through the process of saying, how do I connect with the team? What does the team want me to say? What do I feel comfortable saying? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the build up, the climax that has happened allows the voice for Kyrie to be bigger on a bigger platform because we've been waiting to hear the voice. Kind of like a politician saying, now that I have everybody's attention, now you need to hear what I say. I think that's smart. But Kyrie has the right to make his own personal choice about this decision. People may not like it, but you don't need to like it. It does not matter. This is Kyrie's choice about what he deems he feels important to make his own decision.
You
I
know
think
what?
that's very important to say, Key.
Yeah, that is. And you know what, Jay? He calculated it perfectly because there's so many people out there, as you alluded to, that wants to speak for professional athletes, especially in this situation for Kyrie. That's why I was never one that stepped out there. I'm going to wait to hear that man speak before I start talking because I can't just assume that he's going to quit and millions of dollars are there, or he's going to back out on his teammates and he's not going to get vaccinated, or he is vaccinated. All the narratives and all the different things that's out in the universe that people are saying about Kyrie. I don't know Kyrie, so I can't make that claim. All I know is that people say that he's a little different. That may be the case, but I've never heard him say he wasn't going to do this and do that. Now I got a clear understanding based on what he said on his Instagram story, and we all heard it. And now I can say, okay, but I also heard his teammates say that they've already talked to him and they've met as a unit. That is important to me because that means that they understand that they're on the same page with him and they're going to move forward in their season and they're going to allow him and give him the time that he needs with his family or whoever his people are that he needs to make a decision with at the time and place that he's going to take care of the business so he can join the team. Not this, he's this and Kyrie's that, and none of that. I am 100% with him. He wants the time. It's his platform now. He's gotten it. He's given us all the information that he wanted to give us about why he's taking the time to do what he's doing. And in such due time, when he joins the team, if and when he does it, they'll keep playing basketball and he'll join them and try to help them win. That's what the message is to me, opposed to trying to sit there and say that Kyrie wants to pass some money or Kyrie's going to retire. He simply said that's not the case, so that's what I got to believe and take it with face value.
There are a couple things here. Number one, in America, I would fight for anyone's right to say you're not sticking something in my arm that I don't want there, period. No one's going to stick anything in your arm you don't want there. And if Kyrie's like, nope, this is my body, you're not putting anything in there, I'm with it. And I would fight for that, like, no, that's his choice. But there are consequences to your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And, for example, if you come into work, an employer also has the responsibility to keep other employees safe. If you recall, Dr. Fauci originally with the vaccines, the speed with which we get everyone vaccinated is important. It is a public health crisis. You hear a lot of people saying these are private decisions, okay, but it is a public health crisis. It has an effect on people around you. But Kyrie is absolutely right in terms of his process, his decision. That's a personal matter. But then you don't get to come into work right now. That's the first thing. The second thing is,
Max,
when
you don't get to come into work in San Francisco, in New York.
And New York, that's right.
And New York, okay.
That's right.
But other people get to come into work. I just want to clarify that point for you.
That's right.
Okay.
And And in fact, if we had mandates all over the country, many more people would be vaccinated. We'd be in a better position. That's the first thing. That's according to the consensus of the scientific community says that. Overwhelming consensus worldwide. Now, and this kind of like impression that's left that's it's too controversial to talk about. It's not. There's overwhelming consensus in the scientific community about this. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that someone doesn't get to make a private decision. They do. And it also doesn't mean that Kyrie has to be on everyone else's timetable. He's right about that, too. It's on his, like, wait a minute. Just because the media needs something, because they need something on sports media the next day, I need to make, no. I'll do it when I want to do it. However, there are also consequences to behavior in that sense if you're a public figure. If you're a public figure and you have access to your IG Live any moment you want it, it's tough for people to hear you didn't even have a chance to address this publicly, because you have a chance to address it publicly whenever you want. You choose not to. That's your choice, that's sure. But then it's hard to complain about speculation, because of course people are going to speculate.
I agree with you on the speculation part. But you also have to understand, and Key,
Yes.
this is just how athletes are built. And naturally, I don't think Kyrie Irving is a politician, man. I don't think, Kyrie held up a piece of paper last night on his IG, and he said, here are all my points that I wanted to get across. But you felt like Kyrie was talking more from the heart. So as it relates to being a politician, I know we have to go, and we'll continue this in the next segment. Like, politicians are very strategic with how they say things. Kyrie was talking more from the heart, and as an athlete.
Kevin Durant told the media yesterday that he still envisions Kyrie Irving being a part of the Nets despite his uncertain status. Durant also acknowledges that it will be, quote, hard to duplicate what he brings if he can't play home games in Brooklyn. Jay, what do you make of that?
Well, the full context, he also said, call me naive, but I believe that, eventually Kyrie will be a part of this team. Before, these two are so close. Every time I've heard KD talk about Kyrie, it's been more of he backs him to the nth degree. I'm not saying that he's not backing him right now. But the part of the context of that one quote saying, call me naive, like makes me think a little bit like, all right, like there's a part of Kevin Durant that's starting to think like, how does this actually work? Like, let's be realistic about this, okay? So if Kyrie does decide not to get the vaccine, then he can only play in away games, right? Still not games in Toronto or in LA. But then how does that work practice-wise? What is Kyrie doing right now to stay in shape practice-wise? How do we get continuity with our team? You're not allowed to practice in New York. You're not allowed to play games in New York. You can't really find that. And it makes you start to push the limit that, okay, if we get to this point, like we have to maybe start looking at other options. I'm not saying we go through the other options, but we have to start realistically looking at what trade value is there and how do we figure that out? It seems like Kevin Durant's starting to realize they're getting to that juncture with the season starting October 19th.
This situation, by the way, is like, I understand if someone is a part of a religious group, let's say, that doesn't believe in modern medicine, and that's a deeply held religious value of theirs. Okay, then we can have a separate conversation. But if this is simply people playing internet detective and thinking, you know what, I know what the world scientific community said, but I was online for 5 minutes and I figured this whole thing out. Then come on. That's not really about beliefs. That's only a belief in the sense that you believe something that's scientifically incorrect, that it's not safe or that there's some financial motive behind it and therefore you don't trust it. You just have an inability to process the good information or distinguish the good stuff from the bad stuff.
See, I don't know where Kyrie's getting the information. I don't know why he came to the decisions that he's come to. I have no idea at all. But he believes in whatever he believes in. And if he believes in what he believes in, whether it's internet detective or whatever you want to call it, I mean, he just has to understand that the position that he takes, is taking right now, has consequences.
100%.
That's all. He just
100%.
This is America.
This is America. You do whatever you want, but there are consequences.
Very simple, Max and Jay.
Well,
there's consequences that come with the decision to be unvaccinated and try and play in the NBA.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Brian Windhorst is covering the Nets training camp in Brooklyn. Here's what he told me yesterday on a fantastic new TV show called This Just In, ESPN, 2 p.m. Here's Wendy.
They're only going to see Kyrie Irving's face one day between now and the start of the regular season on the 19th of October. It is very hard to prepare for a season when your starting point guard you can't see for potentially weeks on end. And the reality is, at the start of the season, they have a 6-game homestand starting the second week. That means they're going to go 11 days without seeing the starting point guard because he can't practice or play with you. And so when they're looking at that, they're like, how can we go forward with this plan? How can we go forward with not being able to practice with our guy and then throwing him out there for games? And the answer is, I'm not sure they can. And so this is what they're now having to consider. Can you have a part-time player, not just in games, but not even see him at home in practice? And that is something that they were hoping they wouldn't have to confront this fast in the season.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I mean, we're trying to win a championship. As much as you love Kyrie, I love Kyrie Irving as a player, you can't jeopardize your team by not building continuity and building a rhythm going into the season. You can't do it. You can't do it.
There on a Monday, not there on a Friday.
Yeah.
There on a Wednesday, not there for 2 weeks.
And then his talent is so off the charts. How do you not insert him? But you really can't, because how do you fit him into the schemes? How do you fit him into the rhythm of the game with the players? There's a feel in that. So you start looking at trade value, and everybody's like, oh, go for Ben Simmons. I'm like, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm not sending him to a contender. I'm not sending him somebody in the East. I'm looking out West. I'm looking at a situation like Dallas. I'm looking at a guy like maybe Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe there's trade value there. Maybe Luka and Kyrie in the backcourt is something that they're really into. Kristaps, I'm not sure how Luka feels about Kristaps Porzingis. There have been some issues there with him and head coaches, supposedly. New head coach there in Jason Kidd. But if Kristaps Porzingis can play along with a guy like Kevin Durant and James Harden with the ability to space the floor, that's interesting trade right there.
It is.
Let me ask you this, though, Jay, because I really don't know, but I know you know. But if Kyrie influenced Kevin Durant's decision to sign with the Nets based on their relationship, and then this is happening, and he's moved on, he has to now move on to another team, how does that ultimately affect Kevin Durant in the end?
Well, I think it hurts Kevin Durant because KD definitely has a lot of love for Kyrie. But at the end of the day, KD wants to win chips. He wants to win. Like, he is a savage on the court. And I don't know what else you can do if you're Kevin. What else can you do? Are you going to say, I'm not going to play because Kyrie can't play? I mean, KD loves the game more than anything else. So I don't see him doing that. There's really nothing else you can do.
You're going to martyr yourself. Be on the right side of history. Like, that's, you want to make sure you're making the right choice.